It's totally normal to meet someone, fall in love, want to live happily ever after, and for then to go separate ways. And if there is heartbreak left, that's what this video is about. It can feel as if nothing else. That pain doesn't seem like anything else. That's what this video is about. It's about understanding it, healing it, and becoming whole so that when we meet the next person, it becomes easier and the cycle doesn't happen again. My name is Mark and this is The Emotional Alchemist. I help scapegoats, empaths, and black sheep break free of the scapegoat role, find empowerment, and find that joy and love in life, the connection that we're really looking for. There's in the link in the description below, there is a overcoming fear meditation. I made it myself so that when I feel fear, I can put it on and I just come back to where I really want to be. This video is a hard one for me to make. I've been trying to make it here now for a little while. It's about heartbreak, and I know a lot about that. In the last 2.5 years ago, my wife and I separated, and it was one of the most excruciating things I've ever experienced. It was if, I don't know, all of my insides had been ripped out and replaced with God only knows what, but it felt like a mixture of lead and shit. In this last 2.5 years, what I realized is I had to come to heal myself. I'd always had I'd always hoped that it would to be with the same person. I'm very monogamous. I like the idea of that. It sits very comfortably, and then suddenly when it wasn't there anymore, I found that extremely difficult. And actually combine that, if you're a scapegoat, you'll know that often you get condemnation from those around you, whether it's friends or family, most likely starting off as family. And that means that there's often no support when things go wrong in your life. And I know I speak to so many of you who have exactly the same experience. No matter what it is, there's this feeling of being totally alone. And that's a feeling I was very familiar with in my whole life. It was and then you meet that perfect person, or meet the person, and it's you don't feel alone. And then to lose that 2.5 years ago was extremely difficult. And it's because it's also about whether you can be about being seen. There's two roles in a family which I identify with immensely, and that's the scapegoat role. That's where and it's not just in families, it's in schools and workplaces and everywhere else, where the collective will shift whether it's a family or whatever, shift all of their baggage onto the scapegoat, because the scapegoat is an easy one to blame. We all live in some element of denial. A feeling will come up for me, and whether it's in the street or the shop or whatever, and the natural thing is, this isn't my fault. Empowerment and self-responsibility come from saying, what part of this is mine? But in a family, especially if you're 4 years old, 6 years old, 8 years old, if you're told stuff, you're taking on beliefs the whole time, that's extremely difficult. You can't, and before the age of 8, you can't access your kind of logical brain, the prefrontal cortex, so you can't say, hang on, last week you said this, yesterday you said this, and now you're saying this. Just, you can't do that if you're 8 years old. So, and all that stuff formulates the beliefs that we carry now. So if you're in a family and actually you get blamed for stuff, then part of that dynamic is you believing that you should take it, that you should carry it. That's the difficult thing for a scapegoat. Breaking out of the scapegoat role is difficult, just crazy difficult. And it's about really understanding and loving, coming to learn who I am, what I really think, take away all those beliefs that were kind of given to me early on, and ask, are they still really true? And I can be surprised at some of the things that I still think are true, and I'm like, that's not my belief. Where did that come from? And that has been my path in the last couple of years, and in healing from heartbreak also, to understand that it's not definitely not all my fault. There are that when people have said stuff about me that's not true, I don't need to react. Really, and with all of that stuff, learning self-care, learning self-nurture. For so many of us, we find that the hardest thing, because early on we took on this message that we don't deserve, or you should be ashamed of yourself, or you don't. All of that stuff weighs really heavy, which is why I have made these videos. It's why I do the shadow work for myself. It's because if I can get insight into why I still carry some of those beliefs, even though they don't apply to me today, and they're optional, the vast majority of the people who were in my life originally, early on, family, relatives rather, are not in my life anymore. And so it's, if any of those beliefs that I'm still carrying, I can ask myself, okay, does this serve me? And certainly with connecting with other people, with my friends and the people that help me do my shadow work, they can reflect back to me about, is this belief, is it my belief, is it current, is it serving me? Because early on, we took on ways of coping that basically helped us survive. The question is, are they still helpful now, or are they hindering? For me, it's that. It's about, how am I feeling today? It's like, how am I feeling right now? Actually, I'm feeling quite calm. This video was really difficult to start off making. The love stuff is super difficult, and I haven't really talked about heartbreak on my channel in 230 videos, and it's like, I'm starting to heal. I spoke to someone today and who's also doing some healing work, and she said she felt whole for the first time in a long time, and I was like, wow, that's the word I used for myself this week. It's really heavy stuff. It's hard, and for me, it's about taking care of the physical, because the scapegoat role is a role you have to get out of energetically, physically. You need body to be working in a way that is going to carry you out and run if necessary. Emotionally, all of that stuff is really heavy. You're talking about shame and fear and blame and anger and sadness and all the rest of it. Super heavy. But it's like, and working through that stuff, it gets better, and then it gets worse, and then it gets better, and then it gets worse, and it's like, I do feel a completely different person than I did 2.5 years ago, and I can look back in a way that I couldn't previously, and I can go, oh, I can see what many of the things that have happened to me in my whole life are now for. To feel stronger and more self-assured and more peaceful in a way that I've never felt. And it's like, no means perfect. Anyone who's been watching my videos for a while knows that I make imperfect videos, because whenever I strive for perfection, it either doesn't get completed or it just goes wrong. I have this idea that God, whoever he, she, it, or they are, look down and they go, hey, quit trying to be perfect. That's my job. And it's like, just be human. And I'm like, can I allow myself to be human? Because that's like the most loving thing. Because if I can allow myself to have my imperfections, and I can allow other people to have their imperfections, then, and I can understand where my reactions come from. And I can go, oh, yeah, it's because, what happened when I was 6 years old. And that's understandable, but I don't want it to affect how I turn up in the world today. If I do that, the world gets better. If we all do that, the world really gets better. And I know that from you guys who watch this channel, you do that. And it's hard, but it does get better. For me, that's why I make these videos. It's about empowerment. And empowerment comes from me owning the stuff that I do, from those beliefs that don't work, those actions I've taken, when fear comes up, it's extremely difficult. There's a link in the description below to a fear meditation. It's an overcoming fear meditation. It won't induce fear. This channel is for the empowerment of empaths, scapegoats, black sheep, those of us who feel different, who've always felt different, and want to be able to learn to show up in the world as me, as you, as the true authentic self, and not have to react to others, reduce that fear, stop blaming and stop being blamed. That's a tough one. But if be blamed anyway and ignore it and just still be able to be me, to be you. That. And when we join together, we find that connection and we build, I don't know, we find our purpose, our passion, that kind of stuff. That's why I do this channel. If that's something you like the sound of, hit the subscribe button. And if it's, say hello in the comments if I haven't seen you for a while, because I know I've been gone for a while, and yeah, I'm so grateful for all of your comments. Thanks for watching.